How's it going, everyone? Shaver here, and welcome to my 70-hour plus review of Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, I know that Shadows got a lot of controversy over the release, and, some of it might be justified, I'm not here to comment on that necessarily, but despite this, and some of its flaws, I did actually enjoy my time in Shadows. And so, let's get into it, let's talk about it. So first I'd like to start by talking about the story of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and honestly it's fairly run-of-the-mill for AC games. We set out on a path to collect some kind of relic or item that the assassins are trying to keep from the Templars. The main characters standing in our way, are introduced in one of the most memorable ways, at least for me, and in honestly the entire franchise so far, although I still need to play or complete Valhalla and play Mirage, but this is the moment. I actually really like this intro. This just sat with me throughout the entire game. And honestly, I really like the way that we went about executing the assassinations of this group. So each one typically involved some kind of intel gathering or puzzle solving. Like one of the first assassinations I did in the game required me to learn how to correctly attend and kind of proceed at a Japanese tea ceremony. Something that I found super interesting and a really unique way to kind of gather information and find out who it was that I needed to assassinate. And there were also many unique and interesting side quests and stories which didn't feel repetitive. It didn't feel like you were doing them over and over again. And of course there was the standard Assassin's Creed repeatables. In this particular game it was going to castles and emptying them out and gathering all of the loot and getting all the treasure. And while I did enjoy doing a lot of that, obviously that was very rinse repeat kind of stuff, but there was a lot that was very unique, and some of that included gathering allies to your cause. So they join you in battle, and you can invite them into your creed, into the creed that we were kind of creating. Although honestly, while I did enjoy that, the ally system, this kind of mechanic where you could hire these people and you could then have them join you in fight, felt pointless. I never used it. I don't think I ever used it in my entire playthrough. So just a completely wasted mechanic for me. But I was, however, disappointed at the lack of connection to the previous AC games. I didn't feel like there was any of the interaction with the overarching story that had been set with previous games. We very rarely, if ever at all, I think I can recall one, maybe two times when I interacted with the Animus, or I was even sort of remembering that I was in the Animus. And there was certainly no outside world. Once you were in Assassin's Creed, you were in Shadows. There was no time outside of the world. And this is a trend that I have noticed a lot in some of the certainly more of the newest games. Again, I would have to potentially rectify this after I'd played Mirage, but certainly a lot of the games recently just felt like you never leave the Animus, and I kind of felt like I missed that, because it feels like that's the whole point. You go back in time in the Animus to explore the past and get all this info and find out where these relics are, and yeah, it just felt missing in Shadows. Something I noted during the playthrough, just wanted more of. But now I'd like to talk about the gameplay. Overall, the gameplay in Shadows is fairly standard. Again, a lot of this stuff is standard. Not good, not bad, just kind of standard. Nothing really stood out, and even the addition of like the belly crawl mechanic that you could do didn't really change that. I didn't really feel like anything was very different. I did like the trimmed down abilities though. Limited to 2 per weapon, plus like 1 global. So for a max at 3 abilities at any given time. And you could hot swap usually between a couple of weapons. And that felt good. It felt nice and clean, nice and easy, whereas some of the other games you have like 5, 6, 7 abilities per weapon, and it just seemed to muddy the water a little bit, especially when it came to combat. But this felt refined and chopped down, and like they'd learned something from the previous game. So that's what I liked, because the combat felt good, it felt responsive and fluid. The parries felt good when timed correctly, and the gameplay differences between Naoe and Yasuke were really well done. And each felt so uniquely different. Like when you were playing as Yasuke, you felt like this unstoppable tank that just ran and kicked his way through everything. There were moments when I just hurled people off cliffs with this kick. It felt absolutely great. While playing as Naoe, you felt dramatically weaker in open engagements. It just felt so much more difficult to fight in open engagements with Naoe. But she was so much more enjoyable in hit and run style tactics or strikes from the shadows, and that's the way that they designed them. And honestly, they nailed it. It felt really good for me. I did enjoy the fact as well that I could play as my preferred playstyle. I played Naoe for most of the game, but when I did have to play as Yasuke, I didn't mind, because I still enjoyed the change of combat, the change of pace, because it felt that different and it felt that unique that honestly I didn't mind as much. I thought it was fine. However, I will say, and I was very vocal about this during my playthrough, is that this knowledge system that they introduced served absolutely no purpose and honestly just didn't need to exist. The fact that all the base skill trees on both the characters were locked behind a skill point system that you got for leveling up and for doing objectives, a story-based progression system, and a knowledge-based system just felt like overkill. Removing the knowledge-based restriction from the base skill trees would have just felt so much better. It just didn't need to be there. It didn't serve any purpose. Because once you'd unlocked the entire skill tree, so once you'd gotten to the point where your knowledge level was high enough, and you'd unlocked all of the skill trees, you then unlocked this additional kind of global passive skill trees. And these skill trees basically consisted of 3 rows, and each row had a very broad set of passives, so like boosting health, or boosting affliction damage, or boosting headshot damage. And honestly, if they just used the knowledge points exclusively for these 3 additional trees, it would have been fine. I would have had absolutely no issues with it. I may have interacted with the system, or I may not have, and it wouldn't have been that much of a problem. But because it was linked to the base skill trees, I was forced to interact with this mechanic, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to unlock my skill trees to the max. And that would have just felt like a really bogged down, muddy kind of system that just didn't really need to exist. It was a really bad choice. I just should get rid of it. One final thing I would like to touch on here on gameplay is the housing system that they brought into this game. Honestly, I mean, it wasn't implemented bad. It wasn't necessarily bad per se. It was fine. But that's as far as I would go. It was just fine. It didn't really do a great deal, and other than those that really like to make designs or create villages. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot in there that would allow you to make really cool villages and kind of customize the area, put nice paths in and little huts and buildings. And I'm sure those that want to design these kind of things, this would be their paradise. There was enough freedom in there, I think, to make really nice looking villages, and I'm sure some people did. But for me, it was just great for unlocking the max blacksmith, so the max weapon and armor upgrades, improving the rations, so the amount of health restored from rations, which was disgustingly low at the very beginning of the game, so it really needed that, and to increase the number of scouts that you had for collecting additional resources to upgrade your village some more. And that's it. I did a bit of decorating, I did a bit of landscaping, although I'm going to be honest with you, I'm horrendous at these kind of things, but I tried and it was a bit of fun. But I interacted with the whole system once and kind of left it like that. So, I mean, take it or leave it, it was okay, but honestly, I didn't need it. So next up here is the visuals. And without a shadow of doubt, the visuals are one of Shadow's biggest highlights. And I mean that genuinely. Everything looks good. The characters, the world, the lighting, and seeing it all in different seasons, in the rain or wind, kept me in awe throughout my entire 70-hour playthrough. And I think that's saying quite a lot. Honestly, I couldn't find too much at fault here. And honestly, I just fell in love with the way that Japan came to life in so many different settings, lighting, scenarios. They captured the essence, I think, perfectly, and it just looks great. And I have nothing else. I don't think I have anything bad to say about the visuals. I think they just look great. The sound, however, was not really quite as spectacular. While I just previously mentioned that the introduction to the bad guys, the Shinbaku within the game, left a lasting impression on me, and it did. The music was spot on, the scene was spot on. I loved it. It was stuck out of a movie, and it was fantastic. The rest of the game just didn't seem to follow suit. They kind of came out guns blazing and then misfired for the rest of it. The music was cut out on a regular basis. I had tons of moments when I was in the middle of a horse chase, as one example, and I'm in the middle of this high octane, or supposed to be high octane, horse chase, and the music cuts out, and then jumps back in again a few seconds later. There was this weird kind of scenario going on. Enemies would make noises moments, like minutes after you'd taken them down. It was weird. There was some of the sounds just made you feel like, it just felt bad. It just didn't feel good, didn't sound good. And most of it just fell into the background. I mean, I hardly ever noticed any of the music through, I would say 80-90% of the game. I couldn't tell you what it sounded like. I don't recall any good soundtrack, any good beat, any good music. The only time I can recall it is the opening scene. And that's it. The rest is just lost on me. I think that's kind of sad, you know? I mean, the voice actors did a fine job. They were great. I have no issues with them. I was just hoping for a bit more of what happened at the beginning. I thought that was the scene, that was the bar, we were going to keep going. And unfortunately, we never even came close to the bar after that. I mean, the ambient sounds mostly were fine. The rain, the wind, all sounded great. I mean, I love a good storm for some reason, and that sounded fine. So those I had no issues with necessarily. But the fact that the rain and the wind are the standout parts of the audio and sound for this, I think, says enough. And so in conclusion, 80 Shadows is by far the prettiest Assassin's Creed I've ever played. I don't think Mirage is going to beat it, and Valhalla certainly doesn't, even though I haven't finished it. Well, I know what it looks like anyway. Its combat is refined, and the overall visuals hit the mark. But something felt lacking, and with no real connection to the overarching AC story, me wanting to kind of return to the real world and experience those areas of this, just kind of left a little something. Just felt like something was missing. I did enjoy my playthrough with Shadows. I really did. And, you know, there were some standout moments for me. There were some really good moments. And I would recommend it to any AC fan. I think if you're an Assassin's Creed fan, this is definitely one that you should check out. I would definitely rate it as one of the better AC games I've played, especially recently. And it's certainly one of the better kind of open world variants that we've had of recent releases. But overall, it kind of came across to me as just okay. And that's okay, I think. But that's it. That's how I feel about it. That's what I thought. That was my experience. It's okay. It's good in moments. It's got some good points. It's got some bad points. It certainly isn't the worst one I've played. And yeah, if you're an AC fan, I highly recommend watching my playthrough or playing it yourself. I hope this is helpful. Hope you got something out of this. If you did, leave a like, subscribe for more. I go live every day. I'd love to have you there. Thanks for the support. Until next time, bye-bye.